Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Everyone get coffee and bagels? All right. So my name is Tyler Campbell. I am the Assistant Director in our Office of Graduate Student Life here in our College of Graduate Studies. We wanted to welcome you all to a new graduate program here at UCF. We're excited for you to be joining us. There is a lot that we have planned this morning for your orientation. And so just give you an overview of what we're going to be going through today. We'll start with a welcome from our dean. We'll talk a little bit through kind of navigating campus, all those really important things like your parking pass, your student ID, all those types of details, how to access and get through your My UCF portal. We'll have UCF Safety come over and speak with you. We have our UCF Health Center that's going to come speak. And then we will also go into breakout rooms after we have a faculty panel. And where you can go out and speak to some of our campus resources as well. We'll give you more information on who's in what rooms and where you can go and how you can navigate that when we get to that point. So don't worry, we'll get you where you need to go. And then we'll come back, we'll talk a little bit more about things that you can do beyond the classroom and the ways that our College of Graduate Studies and UCF is here to support you and give you opportunities, one, to get more free bagels, but also to get professional and career development opportunities as we go through. So with that, I would like to invite our Dean, Dr. Elizabeth Klonoff, Vice Provost and Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, to the stage to give you all a welcome.
Thank you, Tyler. So I don't usually use a microphone, but they say we're recording it, so usually I like to scream. Let me just be the second person to welcome you to UCF. Part of what we want to do today is familiarize you with the resources that are available from the graduate school, which are a little bit different from the resources that are available in your program. Tyler, are you ready to click? So, oh God, what a terrible picture that is. All right, well, that's Milliken Hall. That's where the graduate school is located, where the main office is. But the thing that's most important to you is the Graduate Student Center, which is located in 213 Trevor Colburn Hall. The graduate school is supposed to be moving. I'm promising now. The graduate school is supposed to be moving at some time this year, and we'll let you know where we will be, because we don't want to be hidden. The difference between the graduate school and what you may experience in your individual programs is the graduate school really serves the entire university. So when you applied, you actually went through the graduate school application process. When you get your degree, you actually get your degree through the graduate school. So it really is kind of a two-part thing where your program and your college represent one part of your education and the graduate school represents another. So one more, Tyler. I'm not going to read you all of this because you all can read. What I want to talk with you a little bit, though, is about responsibility. Graduate school is different from undergraduate school. Undergraduate school, they gave you stuff to read. They told you what to do, etc. You are now responsible for your career. Graduate school means that you need to prepare yourself for what you're going to do after graduate school. That means that unlike just letting information wash over you, you should work to interact with faculty. You should talk with faculty. You should go and spend some time working with faculty. Of course, you got to do that in a respectful way. So, yelling, "Hey, dude, what are you talking about?" probably won't work. But having conversations, working with faculty is really, really critical. So unlike undergraduate school, you have a lot more responsibility. And with responsibility comes a certain amount of cost. And I want to spend just a moment talking about one of the things that I think I'm going to tell you today so that we won't have to remind you later. We want your degree to be meaningful. We want, when you have a master's degree or a PhD or whatever kind of degree from UCF, we want to be able to say to people, you earned it. What that means is if you're getting it through any other way, if you're cheating, if you're plagiarizing, if you're doing anything that does not represent your hard work, you're ripping yourself off, first of all, because there's no point in going to graduate school if you don't do the work, because that's how you learn. But above and beyond that, when I say we have no tolerance for cheating or for plagiarism, we will work to help you no longer be a UCF student. And so let me just say that again. If you are found cheating or plagiarizing, we want those people who don't cheat and don't plagiarize, we want their degrees to be meaningful. And so in order to make them meaningful, if you engage in behaviors that make your degree not meaningful, we will help you not get that degree. And what that means, again, with responsibility is, because life happens. You know, you've got a big assignment, you get in a car crash, you get sick, etc. You need to take responsibility for that. Talk to the faculty member, have some dialogue, deal with the issue. Don't cheat as your way out. Cheating cheapens everyone's degree. And I just want you to understand that we're not going to let you, on behalf of those of you who actually are actively involved in working and in learning and in really trying to improve, we're not going to let the few of you that decide, well, I'm going to cut some corners, cheapen their degree. And so really the responsibility is kind of twofold. One, you're responsible for what you learn and that what you learn helps you in where it is you're going after UCF. And you're responsible to make sure that you really are doing it in a way so that all of us can be proud of your degree. So that when you walk across the stage, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years from now, when you walk across the stage, everyone can feel good that you've earned the degree, that you now have that knowledge, those skills, those competencies, and that what you're going to do is going to be important and good for the world. I hate to begin on a down note, but we've had a barrage of people who believe that the way to get a degree at UCF is to not play by the rules. And so I want you to hear on your first day that that's just not acceptable to us. All right, so we do a lot of stuff. This tells you a little bit. You will be hearing today from the people who really do that stuff, from the people who do the advocate, people who make sure that you get funding if you need funding, make sure that you are getting through the degree in the way in which you need to get through. I do want to say one thing, and that is at some point, someone I'm sure will talk about, we have a separate web page called a concerns web page. And if somehow, from time to time, people have things from relationships, particularly with faculty, that don't go as well as they'd like, that's a way for you to communicate that to us. That's a way for us to make sure that we can provide whatever kind of help and services you may need. Again, though, assuming that you've been responsible, that you've tried to talk to the faculty member, that you've gone to the department chair, maybe you've gone to the associate dean. We are happy to listen to what's happened and to help you problem solve going forward. All right? So, all of that is to say, I know nothing, so I'm going to get the people who really know things. I'm going to get off the stage. And again, welcome to UCF. We are so happy to have you here, and I look forward to seeing you. And when we let you know where we're going to be in the future, I look forward, hopefully we're going to be near the Graduate Student Center. So when you go to visit the Graduate Student Center, hopefully you'll be able to visit us. But if you see us anywhere on campus, any of the people that you see today, say hi, because it's really, really critical that you understand that we are here, we work for you. And we're trying to do what we can to get you through graduate school. Again, welcome, and I'm sure at some point we'll see each other again. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Klonoff. I would now like to welcome Natalia Bauer, Assistant Director in the Office of Graduate Student Life, who's going to help us get to know UCF a little better. Trey.
Hey, good morning, y'all. Thank you for coming this morning. We're so happy to have you all here. Let me ask really quick, who has been to UCF before? Who went to UCF maybe as your undergrad? Okay, so who went somewhere else for your undergrad? All right, cool. So what we're going to talk about in this session is navigating UCF, and we mean that in a couple different ways. We're going to tell you a little bit about UCF systems and how things work. So some of you who've been here before, maybe a little review for you, but some things may have changed. We're also going to tell you a little bit about UCF itself and its history and why we're here and how UCF kind of got started. So let's start with that. So who is UCF? We were established in 1963, and the first classes started in 1968. So we are a relatively young university, but we embrace that, and we embrace like newness and doing things in different ways because we're not bound by 200 years of what other people thought was a good education, right? We do things a little bit differently here at UCF. So our campus, actually, if you look at it today, still looks like the picture on the left, and it's sort of like it's concentric circles, right? Everything is meant to be a 10 to 15 minute walk away. If you look at the picture on the right, that's actually one of the original plans for the campus. It's kind of cool looking, I think, to just kind of look back. Even though we are young, we do have a little bit of history, and we're trying to see what it looked like. It was in purposeful design. Back in the 60s, you think about like how they were thinking of the future. There was the space race going on and all of these things that were like futuristic. So they were really trying to think of how people could use the campus really well. It also reminds me of something else. Have y'all ever seen this one? Do you know what that is on the left? Anybody? It's Epcot, right? Now, I'm not saying we were designed by Disney. We were not. But if you think back to that age and that era of when things were happening in the late 60s, UCF was literally created to support the space program. We are actually called a space grant university. So that's kind of where our foundations lie, and you'll see that throughout the campus sometimes as we'll talk about this space program. Speaking of that, one of the first things that they came up with on the first student handbook in 1968 was this fellow called the Citronaut. And he's kind of our throwback mascot now. You'll see it on our football uniforms, basketball uniforms, and things like that. Even though we are a younger university, we're trying to embrace our roots and our roots of being here for the space program. Now, of course, we've grown way beyond that. We are a very comprehensive university with all sorts of research and programs. But we want you to keep in mind one of the things from that beginning. Our first president, Charles Milliken, he came up with the motto for the university, which you can see on the original seal of the university when we were Florida Tech, is reach for the stars. And so we want you to always keep reaching for the stars and think of that as your aspirational goal. That's what we're here for. We're here to not only physically get people into space, right? We still are very much a supporter of the space industry, but to also reach for our own stars, right? And make sure that we're always achieving our goals that we want to achieve. So keep that in mind as we go. Our map today, we just kind of wanted to point out, like, campus still looks a lot the same. We have a QR code on there if you want to download a map of campus. It's also on UCF Maps or app. If you download the UCF app, we'll talk about that in a minute. But you can see we still are in that circular design. Where we are right now is the student union, and this is literally the bullseye in the center of the map. So that's where we are. We're in the center, and then everything else is out from here. All of our parking is basically around the outsides of the campus. So when you come to campus, you typically would park, and then you'll be able to walk wherever you need to within, like I said, about 10, 15 minutes. So speaking of parking, and that's always a big deal at a university, parking is always a little bit tricky, but we do recommend that you try to find the nearest garage to wherever you're going. And those garages typically don't fill up unless it's like really, really peak times. There's usually a parking spot near a garage or on a garage. So parking here at UCF, they do charge. They are virtual parking permits, though. You do not have to have a sticker or anything like that. Once you register your vehicle, just make sure you don't back in, because if you back in, they can't see your tag, and that's basically your permit, is your license tag. So you can get permits for a whole year, 365 days, 150 days, whatever you need. If you're not on campus a lot, you may want to do a permit that's, just for a shorter period of time. There are daily parking passes. If you do not come to campus a lot, or you don't anticipate coming to campus, you could just do daily passes, but it starts to add up, so you may want to just get a parking pass. Your parking is considered student parking, so keep that in mind. You'll see a couple different colors of parking, and the parking you would want to use is green parking. Red, blue, and other colors are for staff and faculty and other groups, so just keep that in mind that you would be using the student parking. One other thing to keep in mind is sometimes parking does close at a certain point on football game days, and we will have a weekday game day this year. Just kind of keep that in mind as well when the football schedule comes out each year. Campus does tend to shut down at a certain point so they can kind of open it back up for football game days. So there's our first game actually is August 31st, is on a weekday. It's on a Thursday, so they will have everybody leave the parking lots at around 2 o'clock. So keep those in mind going forward when football schedules come out. There may be times where you come and, oh no, I can't park because it's a football game going on. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so we want to talk to you guys a little bit about, these are some of the most common questions we get about orientation. How do I get my ID? Where do I park? So we're getting those two things right off the bat. We're getting those out of the way. So an ID card is, we want you to go ahead and get your UCF ID. There is a place across the way from here. It's called the John T. Washington Center. It's literally right out the front doors, and that's where the UCF card office is. So you can go there and get your ID made, your UCF ID, and it serves a purpose for several things. It's your library card. It's also an access card for if you ever have doors you have to open in the building you're working at. That would be your key. So you definitely want to get your ID. You only need a photo ID or passport to get your ID. And so you just go right across the way to the John T. Washington Center to get that. If you want to go ahead and take care of that today, they'll be able to do that for you. So ID is a card, but there's also other ID numbers that you need to be aware of here at UCF. There's something called your NID or your network ID, and that's basically your user login. So you will use that on all of the UCF systems. So for example, if you're taking online coursework, we have a system called Web Courses, and you would log into Web Courses using your NID and then a password. Your UCF ID, which is basically your student ID, if you want to think of it that way, your student number is a different number. And so like if you're working with your department, you call up somebody and say, hey, I need you to look up this record or I need to register for something, you would probably want to give them your UCF ID number. So that's your student number, essentially. You can look up all of these things in MyUCF, and we'll talk about MyUCF in a few minutes, and you can find out the difference between your NID, your student ID, and then you have, of course, your ID card. So I know it gets a little confusing because there's several things called an ID, so just kind of keep that in mind. MyUCF is our system for everything, essentially. It's where all the records are stored, where you can kind of see your progress, where you can see your plan of study, where you can see a lot of other records that you need to know of. This is kind of the path of this. Don't worry about memorizing all this stuff. We will have this PowerPoint up where you can see it later. We just have it here so you can kind of see where it goes. There's a path to getting to something called your Student Center, and so you would log into MyUCF and you'd go to Student Self-Service, and it's a Student Center. And when you're in there are a bunch of functions you can do. This is kind of what it's going to look like in your Student Center. I know. It looks like the 1990s. We know. It's old. Record systems, they're just sort of like that. They basically are there for information. They're not there for entertainment. So we want to point out that there is a section called Graduate Student Section on this main page. It's kind of down low. And there's a lot of functionality in there that you'll want to kind of be aware of, is that the Graduate Student Section is for you. There's certain forms that are listed there. There's certain information you can pull up there. So that's down there at the bottom. You can see where I've circled it. And that's a blow up of it so you can see it a little bit better, but there's a drop down menu for certain forms and things that you have to fill out. So we just want you to kind of be aware of that. There's also, your plan of study is something we want to point out to you. There's another area you would click on, and your plan of study is basically what tells you what you need to do, essentially. It's your graduate plan of study is like your, it lists the courses you have to take and the things you have to fulfill and what you have fulfilled and what you haven't yet. So you want to be familiar with your graduate plan of study as well. So make sure you go into MyUCF and kind of play around with all of these sections and look at it. Speaking of what you have to take, the graduate catalog is one of the resources you'll want to be aware of because it does list your program requirements, and you may have even seen the graduate catalog when you were applying because it kind of lists out what you need to take and how an actual graduate program works. It also has a lot of the policies that you would need to know of, and I know that stuff is boring, but sometimes that stuff catches us off guard because we weren't aware that we had to do a certain training or we had to take a certain number of courses by a certain point. So, there's also a time period that you have to have your degree done by. There's a certain limit on time. So we do recommend being familiar at least of where the graduate catalog is and where the policies are listed, because if you do have a question about something, you may want to go look at that and see what it says instead of just guessing. We don't want you to guess. One other resource that's really important to know of is your graduate handbook. Every program should have one of these. If it is not listed online, ask your program for it. This is essentially like your contract with your program of study, with your graduate program. They will list things that are not in the graduate catalog. So like the graduate catalog lists rules for everybody, right? All grad students, graduate catalog lists that stuff. Graduate program can have other things that they require you to do, and they would be listing that in the graduate handbook. So just make sure if you haven't seen the handbook that you ask for it, or if you can't find it online, ask your program for it, because sometimes they have it online, sometimes they have a copy in a PDF or whatever it might be. So, but you want to read through that as well, because that will give you some information on what to do and when, and what your program is going to require of you for certain processes and certain things. So keep that in mind. So communication, there's several ways that you'll be communicating with us and with your program. Just make sure you have your student account set up, your student email account. It used to be called Knights email, so you may still hear people calling it Knights email, but it's not called Knights email anymore. It just recently changed to just UCF student email, so everybody has a student email. That is your official communication from UCF. So if we send something from the College of Graduate Studies or your program sends something, it's going to typically be through that email. So I know we don't always check our emails, we don't always check them very often, but recommended checking it at least once a week, right? I know you got to go to yet another email, right? But you can miss really important things like funding. So like if somebody has money to give out, right? Or free food, like Tyler mentioned, you may get an email about it. So it's really important to check that, because if there is any official communication from the university, it is going to come to that email. So make sure you do that. Also, we recommend finding out who in your program in college is there for graduate students. Every program typically has a program staff person that will know your program front and back, right? And they will know exactly what you need to take and when. Get to know who that person is, and sometimes they will be sending you emails, so know their name. And if you see an email coming from them, it's typically pretty important. So learn who that person is, learn who your graduate program director is. So if you do have questions that you need answered, you can go to those folks and they can help you, because they know your program the best. Again, Graduate Studies is here for you. If you can't get something answered within your own program, your own academic college, we're here to help you. But get to know those folks, because they will be the ones day to day who can answer the questions best for you. All right, I know I mentioned funding really quick. There's a few resources we just wanted to point out, and one of our deans who's in charge of funding will be telling you a little bit more about that stuff later, but there are some funding opportunities available. A lot of people think that graduate students aren't eligible for scholarships, but you are, and a lot of times money goes unclaimed, so make sure you go check out scholarships. The UCF Office of Financial Aid has listings for scholarships and things like that, so make sure you check that out. There's internal and external funding. Internal just means it comes from UCF. External is from other places. So there are also presentation fellowships. So if you do need to go and do a presentation somewhere at a conference, there's funding available for that as well. So we just kind of wanted to point out really quick a couple financial things. All right, another UCF fact. Yeah, we mentioned financial aid, UCF financial aid. You also can fill out a FAFSA. I know a lot of people don't really think about that for grad school, but that can also determine if there's any funding available for you as well. So just want to point that out from the UCF Financial Aid Office. All right, real quick, does anybody know what the reflecting pond was on campus before? Right now it's a pretty fountain, right? If you've ever been on campus, you may have seen it outside of Milliken Hall, our main building. Does anybody know why it was built? Anybody want to take a guess? What was it? Yes, you got it. We had somebody who does. Yeah, it was basically a big old muddy pit. So, I mean, that sounds like not so glamorous, but they took, it's like making lemonade out of lemons, right? We had this muddy pit and made basically this really iconic thing at UCF that people now are aware of. So these are pictures of it being built. You can see the muddy pit. But now it is basically the center of campus. We have this celebration during homecoming that all the undergrads love to run into the pond. It's called Spirit Splash. It's one of our big traditions. And I actually have drained the pond early in our campus when there was really only like 2 buildings. They used to have commencement in there. They used to have graduation in there. But now it's a tradition for people when they're graduating. We hope to see you in a picture like this someday in your regalia. You can take photos in front of the pond. People actually will step their feet in it. And it's just a really great tradition now that people embrace this really beautiful part of campus that actually wasn't so great when it was started. So I just kind of want to give you a little bit more UCF history. All right, so there are several digital tools we want to talk about at UCF. There, like I mentioned, web courses. If you are taking anything online, and actually a lot of in-person courses will have a web course component as well, because that's where they'll put the syllabus or they'll have other items that you need, assignments, so make sure you're familiar with web courses and how to log into it. Zoom, UCF, there's a lot of Zoom going on, right? I mean, I know the pandemic's technically, endemic now, but, there's still a lot of online things going on, so you do want to sign up for UCF Zoom. It's a free thing, you just log in, and we recommend doing that because there's more features available to you. It doesn't time out after 40 minutes, that sort of thing. So if you are attending something through Zoom, you can be logged into your UCF Zoom account first before you attend. We highly recommend doing that. And then UCF Apps is something we want to point out. UCF offers a lot of free software. A lot of Microsoft products are available for free. So if you need Word or PowerPoint or anything like that, there are a lot of apps, statistical software, things like that are available on UCF Apps. So check those out as well. And get out and get about. Learn a little bit about campus. We told you a little bit about campus today, but you're going to have a lot of things to do. Make sure you take a time to have a break. And there's a lot of places to do that on campus. There's a really great recreational facility called Lake Claire. There is a Rec and Wellness Center, which is a very large gym. As a student, you have access to all of these items just like everybody else. So make sure you take advantage of them. Even here in the Student Union, you'll see in the middle picture, there is a game room in here, which I thought was really cool. Free game room. You can go play pool, you can play games. That's right upstairs. So take a break once in a while. There's an arboretum where you can go on nature walks. There are pools. Take advantage of these things. You may think, oh, I'm going to be too busy. If you have time, you can take a break. We recommend it. You need to reset your brain sometimes, right? You need it. You're thinking and concentrating, but it's proven. There's studies out there. I've seen them that your brain needs a reset sometimes. So make sure there's plenty of places on campus to catch a quiet moment and just relax for a little bit. So take advantage of these things. They are open to you. You can use them just the same as everybody else. Okay. All right. A couple more resources, and then we are just about done. UCF mobile app, we recommend downloading this. You can get to a bunch of the things that I've talked about already through the mobile app, like web courses is on there. You can get to your email. You can use what's called Safe Walk, which is an escort service. If you're here late at night, you can use it to have somebody take you to your car, things like that. It also can track parking, so if you want to see if a garage is really full, there is a parking component of the app. It also will send you alerts. There's and they'll talk about this in the safety talk, but whenever there's something going on that's dangerous, you can get an alert through the app as well. So we definitely recommend you download the UCF mobile app as well. And yeah, so that's it sort of for our about UCF or some of the things that UCF has for you and some of the systems we have for UCF. So this time, though, we want to bring up our other deans that you haven't met yet. And we're going to talk to them a little bit and have them tell you a little bit about how their areas of the College of Graduate Studies help you and the services available to you. So we're going to have them come on up and I will introduce them and then ask them a couple questions. Nothing too hard. So again, well, we'll go with Barbara. We'll go with Dr. Fritchie since she's closest to me. So if you could just tell us your name. Well, I just said your name, but your title is Associate Dean. Tell us a little bit about your area. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like how long you've been here at UCF, and one fact. So either your favorite UCF moment or why you just like being at UCF.
Oh gosh, do I like being at UCF?
Of course.
Yes. Hi, I'm Barbara Fritchie. I have been at UCF for 27 years. This is my 28th year I'm starting, so obviously I like being at UCF. Right? I am a psychologist by training. My area is industrial and organizational psychology, and I've been a professor and I've been the associate chair of the psychology department and also graduate program director for both our master's programs and our PhD programs. For the past 5 years, I've been associate dean in the College of Graduate Studies. My role is to see you through from matriculation, where you are now, all the way through graduation and walking across the stage. And so there's 3 things that my team focuses on. One is academic services. So these are the things that you come to us for help with. So, and it's usually when life happens or unexpected things happen while you're in graduate school. And I strongly encourage you to take advantage of these resources. So for example, if you experience a medical problem, we have medical withdrawal processes. We have, you can take a special leave of absence that will be approved. You can, if something happens in your family, you have a family emergency, you may qualify for a late drop of your courses, et cetera. There's lots of options, and it really is heartbreaking when I see students who just try to plow through and they think, I can do this even though I have this other responsibility or this other family issue, and then they get poor grades and ultimately may fail out of graduate school. These services are here because we know life happens, and we want you to have a way to put a pin in it, focus on what you need to focus on, and then come back to your graduate education. So I encourage you to come and see us if you have any of those kinds of issues. My team also monitors the academic progress of all students at UCF, all graduate students at UCF. And so one of the first things you're going to see from us is a request for a program of study. What we're hoping you do is you meet with your advisor and create an expected plan. Now you can deviate somewhat from this plan, but we want to see what you're going to do from now until you graduate. And so we want you to open up your graduate catalog, see what electives are available, have a conversation about your career goals, talk about when, are you going full-time or part-time through the program, all of that, all the various milestones that you must complete to finish your degree. Have that conversation, and you'll be writing it down and signing it and submitting it to us in the College of Graduate Studies. We have a way of having you respond. We hope that you respond when we send you emails, or we put things on your to-do list. So Natalia showed you that My UCF portal before, and you might have seen that there's a spot that says to do and also holds. So to do is please do this, and if you don't do this, you will see a hold on your account, which will force you to do it. And when you get a hold, that means you can't register. It stops your progress through the program. So please pay attention to those to-do items. They are critical things to do to maintain progress through graduate school. We also, if you're in a doctoral program, we're going to be alerting you every year to fill out an annual progress report. And if you fall below academic standards at any point in time, we will alert you to that, and then we will ask you to have another meeting with your advisor to plan on how to get you back on track. Then at the end of your degree progress, we will review your entire graduate experience here and figure out whether you've met all of the milestones and requirements to earn your degree. And then we certify your degrees. And we will be there at your commencement to watch you walk across the stage. Dean Klonoff mentioned a little earlier reporting a concern. If you report a concern to us through our website, it's a very simple Qualtrics survey. You can identify yourself or not, but those concerns all come to me, and I work with the various graduate associate deans in the various academic colleges to help resolve your issue, help get you the help you need if you're not able to get it at the department level. I think that's about it. Oh, I think there was a piece of advice too, right? So the piece of advice I would give you, I went to graduate school many, many years ago, but I remember feeling like my professors were very, very smart and very, very together. right? They just kind of came with this air about them. And so I felt a little intimidated. I realized as I went through graduate school that that they're human too, and they will understand if I'm having problems in their class or problems in my statistics class or problems at home or health issues or whatever, because they're human too and they've had those things happen. And so don't feel ashamed. Allow yourself to be vulnerable while you're in graduate school and talk to people. Get the help that you need so you can be successful. We're all in it together, really.
Thank you. I'll introduce our next dean. It's Jennifer Parham, our senior assistant dean. So she's in charge of our, well, she can tell you what she's in charge of.
Thank you, Natalia. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see you today. Congratulations for being here. One of the areas of responsibility that I have is admission, so congratulations. So you're here. I won't spend a lot of time on that piece, but I do want to mention while you are here, if you perhaps are now entering a master's program, please take all of the advice that Dr. Fritchie said about completing that, and then also think now about if you're looking for a PhD or a doctoral program in general, things you want to start thinking about. If you do have any questions about application process, things like that, we are here for you in the College of Graduate Studies. Or certificates, yes, thank you for mentioning that. So as you're doing your current degree, there may be a graduate certificate program that goes nicely with that. Make sure you apply for it early so that when you complete those classes, you'll actually be able to earn it. You do have to file your intent to graduate specifically for that certificate. So it's very important that you start thinking about that now, speak with your program director, look at the graduate catalog. But that is a great recommendation. We have a lot of graduate certificates available to students that will help complement the degrees that you're getting now. I also have oversight for our recruitment area, so again, I won't spend a lot of time on that, but we are doing some initiatives. If you're interested, even now in participating, for example, we're giving graduate student tours out of the Graduate Student Center and things that are more specific to our graduate student population here at UCF to give you a little bit more of a tailored experience. And I'm sure you'll hear more from Tyler and Natalia about some events that are happening at the Graduate Student Center this coming week. One of them being a funding presentation. So Natalia, stole my thunder a little bit with the slide up there, but I'm just kidding. But we do have a lot of funding opportunities. So that is my other primary area that I oversee in the College of Graduate Studies. We're going to have a presentation today at 1. Joy Kittredge will be there. For those of you who are either just interested in graduate funding, or if you are coming in with a graduate assistantship, a fellowship, or again, just kind of wanting to know what might be available to you, I do encourage you to attend if you can. If you can't, we do have other opportunities. You can, of course, visit us in the college at any time, but we will have a presentation during the Welcome Week, the launch, I think we're calling it, the first week of classes. So this coming, I guess, the 21st through the end of that week, there's going to be a variety of opportunities for you to meet other students, to meet people from our college, to hear presentations, things like that, and one of those being on funding as well. So keep in mind, like Natalia mentioned, while we do have a lot of opportunities here at UCF, we strongly encourage you to explore external funding opportunities as well, awards through NSF, NIH, other, Fulbright, all kinds of things. So there's a lot out there. Not only the larger scale things, but also scholarships, like Natalia mentioned. Our financial aid website manages a scholarship listing. So be sure you are looking at that, certainly to help, everyone likes a little bit of extra money and we need it, right? So it's gonna help pay for your education and whatever else might be needed. In terms of what you might wanna come visit us for or reach out, or what you might be hearing from us about, would be if you are on an assistantship, for example, there are requirements that you need to maintain. You have to be enrolled full-time. If you're struggling or you have something come up, as Dr. Fritchie mentioned, please come talk to us, talk to your faculty before you withdraw from a course. It's very important, whether it be you have funding through us or if, say, you even have a loan that may have a requirement, that you speak to someone and fully understand what might happen if you were to withdraw and become part-time. Similarly, my team administers tuition remission, so if you do have one of those assistantships or a fellowship that comes with tuition support, you have a question about that, reach out to us, but we work with the programs. We're the ones kind of putting that in the system for you, offering health insurance. So if you, again, are on a a funding package that includes university-paid health insurance. You'll be hearing from us, so that's where it's so important that you check your email, that UCF email, or that is where we're going to send it. That's the only place we're going to send it. That is the official place for university communication. So you're going to get an email from us with instructions on how to accept that insurance on the My UCF Student Center that Natalia showed you. So again, I know that won't apply to everyone, but it could potentially, as you progress through your degree, if you realize that's something you're interested in. While a department may not always have funding for all students, there are other opportunities on campus for assistantships. So reach out, and again, like Natalia mentioned, we often communicate to you by email if we're aware of opportunities in offices around campus. So those are some of the main areas. I just want to make sure you know we're here. I'm sure John's going to talk about a lot of the fun stuff as well in terms of our graduate student life, but I just want to say congratulations. Oh, myself, I should have said, I've been here forever. I forgot that part. I've been here, I started in 1998, it's a long time ago, as a student. So I've been where you are. I did my undergraduate and my graduate degrees here at UCF, so I have a lot of fond memories walking across the stage with my, getting my doctoral degree, one of the, I guess, proudest of those that I could relate to, that I hopefully, those of you who are here will see you through, whether it's your master's or a certificate or your doctoral degree in terms of completion of that. So obviously I have a lot of great memories. I met my spouse here, I should say. That's one of the, I suppose, positive ones. So a lot of happy memories here, and of course seeing students through. So being here so long, we've seen a lot of students who have come through, especially in my area with funding, seeing students who have a graduate fellowship, for example, talking with them over the years, seeing them at graduation, hearing what they're doing afterwards. It's always really exciting and motivating, I think, to be here and to do what we do. So.
Thank you, Dr. Parham. All right, and our last one, who's my boss, Dr. John Weissample, our Senior Associate Dean.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to UCF and the College of Graduate Studies. My name is John Weissample. I've been at UCF 28 years. My initial role was in the College of Sciences. It used to be the College of Arts and Sciences in the Department of Biology. I moved up through the professorial ranks and also was the program director for the master's and PhD programs in biology. Some of my work here at UCF involves what we broadly term scholarship. So I'm involved with program development, new degree programs, new certificate programs, changes in curricula. And I work with your professors and your programs if they need to put forth some kinds of changes. I also involved with the awards part, which is kind of fun. So in terms of faculty as well as student awards. Each year we give outstanding student awards associated with teaching, associated with being teaching assistants, associated with thesis and dissertations. One thing that falls under my purview, which really is in Natalia's wheelhouse, is thesis and dissertations. So some of you may be in programs where it's a requirement to develop a thesis or dissertation. This is a independent research project where you're creating new knowledge or creating a new way of looking at the world. UCF produces hundreds of these each year, and if you go to the library, they have a site called STARS. And the STARS site is a repository of all of our electronic thesis and dissertations. And one of the cool functions associated with STARS is it shows them being downloaded. And you can just kind of watch this, in real time, watching our theses and dissertations being downloaded across the world. And I think our downloads exceed several million right now. And so it's kind of showing our contribution to knowledge in the broader sense. I'm also working with Natalia and Tyler in the office or graduate student life, which resides really across campus, but it's centered in the Graduate Student Center. And we have a variety of activities that occur each semester that are there for many purposes. Some are designed to develop you professionally outside of what you're getting from your coursework or your interactions with your professors. We have workshops that involve communicating science, communicating your creative activities. We have workshops associated with careers, how you develop your career plans, how you're able to market or brand yourself. We also have workshops associated with academic integrity. All of you will need to take a course called Pressures to Plagiarize. Dean Klonoff mentioned how important it is to make sure that the work you create here while you're at UCF is your own work. And this is kind of an interesting time, in the presence of AI, and how we're able to use AI to help, hopefully just develop our thoughts, but really we'll use our own knowledge to expand it. So, in the world out there of many resources that are available to you, we're really looking to make sure that this is indeed your work and your degree. Also associated with it, you'll have some fun events too. There'll be during our launch week, and Tyler will speak more about this. We have activities that are coming up during the first week of classes. Things like donuts with the deans. We all need some more donuts. Also, maybe, I keep calling it this, I don't know if it'll happen, pizza with the president or pizza with the provost. Maybe we'll be able to have one of our provosts join us. But throughout the year, you'll see some activities that we hope you get involved with. And some of the opportunities that are there are trying to manage your time, work-life balance, trying to make sure that you're able to juggle the responsibilities that you have as a student, maybe as a parent, maybe as a spouse, and making sure that your own health is always a #1 priority. Another task that I'm involved with, or kind of I oversee, is interdisciplinary studies. You may remember Dr. Klonoff's slide that had all the colleges. Well, there are some programs that cross different colleges. And so some of those reside in the College of Graduate Studies. One in particular is associated with the School of Modeling, Simulation, and Training, which is crossing areas like computer science, psychology, engineering, developing those new VR headsets and things like that. And so it really does represent a variety of disciplines coming together. And so that's housed within the College of Graduate Studies. Lastly, one of the areas I oversee is also called the Office of Postdoctoral Affairs. And so that may be not right now in your scope of vision, but for those of you that are doing doctoral degrees, perhaps you'll end up at UCF as a postdoc as well. And we have resources available for you to basically extend some of your learning and training at UCF. And then also some of you may be working with postdocs as well if you're in research labs. Often part of the research ecosystem includes postdocs. And so we have currently about 200 postdocs here on campus, which is significantly less than about our 9,500 graduate students. But you might have opportunities to interact with them. In terms of my favorite memory at UCF, I've been around a long time. I have a few, but let me start off first with a sports one. A few years back, UCF was in the NCAA basketball tournament. We made it through the first round. We beat Virginia Commonwealth. The second game, it was up in Columbia, South Carolina, was against Duke. And Duke, I think, was #1 at the time. And so UCF is playing Duke in the second round. And we had a pretty strong team, but Duke was, certainly the glory team out there. We lost, but we took it down to the last shot. It was the most watched UCF sporting activity in history. Over 3 million viewers were watching. And I have to believe that 98% of them were rooting for UCF, so it was kind of cool. The other event that I think is pretty memorable to me, every once in a while, we've had opportunities, Barbara and I, and certainly Dean Klonoff does this on a regular basis, as we attend graduation. And sometimes we get to hood our doctoral students. And there's also and hooding is a ceremony where we're basically welcoming you into the club. Not a very exciting club, but you're welcome. But I had a chance to hood a UCF graduate. He actually earned 3 degrees at UCF, so I was giving him a 4th degree, an honorary degree. And this guy, he's actually, he was pretty well known in certain circles. And he turned out he had this great title. He was the vice president of knowledge. And vice president of knowledge, that sounds interesting. But it was at Google, which is kind of even more interesting because I always think of Google as kind of the bastion of all of the world's knowledge. But he was the VP of that. But that's not what he was known for. He was known for something else. His name is Alan Eustace. Alan had just maybe a couple years before set the world's record for the highest free fall. Alan got his 3 degrees at UCF in computer science, but I think he always was a kind of a space engineering geek. And once he kind of made his name in Google and earned enough money, he brought together some corporations to build him a spacesuit. And he had this spacesuit, and it was attached with him in it to this balloon, and it went 25 miles up into the stratosphere, and then he let go. And he's coming down screaming until the parachutes open up. But Natalia mentioned that the UCF motto is "Reach for the stars," but I think it also could be crashing down to earth too. So that might be something to think of.
With a parachute. As long as you got the parachute.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. We just wanted you to know a little bit more about the College of Graduate Studies, some of our leadership, what we do here for you. So I thank you all very much for telling us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what we do for students. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Tyler back up to introduce you to the next talker. But thank you so much for talking for a few minutes.
All right. Thank you very much to all of our deans who came and talked a little bit about their experiences and the value of a parachute. But thank you all very much. Our next speaker is Sergeant Matthew Scott with the UCF Police Department.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's do that again. Good morning, everyone. Oh, so much better. Once again, I'm Sergeant Matthew Scott with UCF Police Department. I've been with this agency for over 17 years now, and I've done everything at this agency, from being a canine handler, patrol. I've been a detective for over 6 years and in multiple different disciplines, so I've been around, I've done a lot. And I'm here to tell you this morning about the safety resources that are available to you on this incredible institution, UCF. Before we get into things real quick, I want to tell you guys about some numbers. Let's do some numbers real fast, okay? How many of you guys know that the University of Central Florida is the second most populated campus in this nation? If you didn't know, 68,000 to 70,000 students enrolled every single semester, all right? On this campus alone, you have close to 13,000 employees, staff, faculty who serve all the incredible students at this institution. Then on top of that, for housing, you have 12,000 beds just on this campus alone, all right? On UCF game day, you're looking at approximately over 90,000 people who are on this campus. Now that we're in the Big 12, we're looking at getting close to over 100,000 people, all right? So what do you need to protect all those numbers that I just told you about? Yes, it's not a trick question. You need a police department, but not just any police department. A police department that's trained in active shooter, right? A police department that's trained in recognizing mental health. All of our officers are trained in crisis intervention management, okay? So let's go over it. Safety is our top priority at this institution. We care about each and every single one of you. The vast majority of all of our officers are also alumni. I got both of my degrees, my undergrad and my master's degree from this institution. So we care about serving this community. It's very important. So once again, our agency is approximately about 80 to 82 sworn law enforcement officers. We're a fully accredited law enforcement agency. Who wants to tell me what you think that means? Fully accredited law enforcement agency. It means we're real, folks. We're real, okay? There's sometimes some students on this campus, I find out a little too late that we're real, all right? But we want to make sure that everyone understands, because every state college institution has a state law enforcement agency, all right? Just like FHP, we're state law enforcement, all right? But our jurisdiction is basically to everything that's owned by the university. So let's talk about that. There are approximately 4 locations that we primarily serve. So you have the UCF main campus, which is in the east side of Orange County. You have UCF downtown, which is in Orlando. You have the Rosen School for Hospitality and Management, which is more in Orange County. And then you also have Lake Nona, the College of Medicine. So those are the primary 4 locations that we serve, all right? And approximately 1,000 feet from that, so if we see anything that's happening on Alafaya or going into McCulloch into Seminole County, we can take action. But those locations are going to be primarily for those jurisdictions. Now, 911, if you have any type of emergency, okay, of course, utilize that number. We are one of 2 campus law enforcement agencies in the state of Florida that have our own communication center. So we have our own dispatch. So depending on wherever you're standing on this campus, if you were to call 911 or the non-emergency number 407-823-5555, which now that you're all UCF students, congratulations on that. Give yourselves a round of applause. Oh, guys, you could do so much better than that. You worked hard to be here. So, if you were to contact any of those numbers, depending on where you're standing, right, cell phone towers, maybe you get redirected to Orange County Sheriff's Office, or maybe you get redirected to Seminole, you're always going to come back to UCF Police Department, our own dispatch center. You're going to be talking to somebody who's here on campus, knows the jurisdiction, and will be able to get you help, immediate help. UCF PD has a response time of less than 2 minutes to any one of our jurisdictions. So you're not waiting there for an extended period of time. You're going to get help. So, talking about that, let's talk about blue light phones, okay? As you walk through our campus, we have approximately over 250 blue light phone devices all throughout our campuses, okay? What does that mean? It means that as you're walking around, you're going to see these yellow poles with a blue light at the top and a red button in the middle. Should you depress that red button, it's going to automatically connect you to any one of our communication center dispatchers. And you'll be able to advise what's going on, what you need, and they'll be able to send somebody out to you very quickly, all right? They're GPS enabled, so even if you can't respond or talk about where your location is, our dispatchers are automatically going to know where you are. And that's good for several reasons, but also to include what was already talked about. We have an escort service where, let's say that it's late at night, you don't necessarily feel comfortable, you're in the interior of campus, and you don't necessarily want to walk by yourself all the way to your car. You can either call to contact the non-emergency number for UCF PD, or you can hit a blue light phone, and we'll dispatch an officer to walk with you. Or if there's inclement weather, and it's raining, or whatever the case may be, we'll be able to drive you to that location. Now, we're not Uber, so we won't take you from main campus to Rosen or anything like that, but we will do our best to get you in a safe way to where you're trying to go, all right? So, traffic safety, folks, this is very important. You do not need to drive more than 30 miles an hour on this campus. I'll say it again for all of you who have genetically lead feet. You do not need to drive more than 30 miles an hour on this campus. Gemini Boulevard, as you will see, is one big circle, and sometimes students interpret that to be NASCAR. So we will advise everybody to slow down. I just got done telling you this is the second most populated campus in this nation, 68 to 70,000 students. That means a lot of pedestrians, a lot of students walking around, and unfortunately, a lot of students doing this. I had a young man walk out in front of my car and completely didn't know he walked out in the middle of the street. So it's very important. You got to slow down, pay attention to where you're going. This is also a good opportunity very quickly to mention some of the technology that we have on this campus that goes toward keeping all of our students safe. So we have surveillance cameras throughout the campus, very good cameras that our dispatch has immediate access to in real time. Also, something called LPR system. It's a license plate reader. So for everybody who has a car in here, raise your hand. Oh, we know who all of you are. As you drive on this campus, the technology activates, and if people have a stolen vehicle, if someone has a warrant for their arrest, all these different things goes toward our police department. Our dispatch lets us know, and we do our best to go ahead and intercede on those individuals. And a lot of times, a lot of them have no business beyond this campus. So that's one of the things that we do to keep all of our nights safe. Moving into personal property, folks, our #1 crime on this campus is unattended theft. Unattended theft, that means you work really hard for your item, but for whatever reason, the night goes, you know what, I'm gonna leave this $1,000 laptop on the stand and walk away to the bathroom. I'm gonna come back 2 hours later and it's gone, how did that happen? Yes, you will have your stuff stolen. So it's important that you take your items with you, don't just leave things laying around, all right? And we have a fantastic program with a company where you're able to electronically house all of your serial numbers for your property. Your serial number is one of the most important things you can have as far as your property is concerned, because that's one of the things that we will ask you if you're submitting a police report. What does it make? What is the model? Do you have a serial number? I can tell you as a prior detective, if I have a victim of a crime who had some personal property stolen from them and they do not have their serial number, the chances of me getting their property back for that victim are 0. So it's important that you have that information, okay? And also, we have the registry for those who are interested in sex offenders. If you want to take a picture of the slide, feel free to do so, but you can also get this information on our website, which you're going to be able to see here in a minute. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement mandates that all sex offenders register their location when it comes to how close they are in proximity to any kind of schools, to also include universities. So that's also information you can take a look at. See something, say something.
Whether you're on campus or out with friends, it's important to be aware of your surroundings. And if you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities. If you witness shoplifting or theft, if you find an unattended backpack or package, or if someone is acting in a suspicious manner, call 911 immediately. Remember, no call is too small. So if you see something, say something. Don't hesitate to call 911 to help keep our UCF community safe.
Folks, see something, say something is a mandate that we have for our community. Our law enforcement model is community-based. We can't do this job without you. Like I just got done saying, we're about 80 to 82. We have incredible mutual aid agreements with all of our local departments. So if we need help, as far as an agency is concerned, we can get help very quickly. But you guys are our eyes and ears. So if you see something that's concerning to you, it's going to be concerning to us as well. But the key aspect of that is you have to say something, right? There are multiple times I could tell stories about individuals who've seen things that concerned them and they didn't say anything about it. But it's important that you do that because you might see something and you go, hey, that's weird, and then you walk away. But what about the people around you? We are all knights now, okay? We have to take care of each other. So just because you saw something doesn't mean the people who are around you saw it as well. It's important that we say something. Very quickly, UCF alert notifications. Now that you are UCF students, you are automatically enrolled in this program. So anytime we have anything of concern on this campus, it could be inclement weather, it could be a shutdown of a particular building. We've been having a lot of gas leaks lately, so you might get a notification in regards to that, hey, stay away from the chemistry building until further notice. It's important that you folks pay attention to those things because the last thing we want is for you to walk into a situation that's active and going on. So you might get something from the university, hey, stay away from this location, or hey, shelter in place due to tornado warning, that type of thing. Please pay attention for that. And for any of our friends and family who are in the room today, the instructions for how you can also be enrolled in our notification program are up here. You can take a picture of the slide if you so need to. And no one's taking a picture of the slide. All right, hurricane readiness, folks, June 1st, okay? Hurricane season is here, and we're gonna have an active season this year. So it's very important that you pay attention to any alerts or anything that's going on regarding potential shutdown of UCF. UCF is not a ride-out location. So should the university shut down, you most likely will be going home to your location, to be driving out, be getting on I-95, whatever the case may be. The university typically closes in expectation, trying to get students back home as safely as possible. So you need to pay attention to all of that. One of the things that we do with our emergency management, we partner with them, is they have all these different relationships with all these different weather systems, and they're very quickly able to tell the university, hey, this looks like it's heading our way, we need to shut down. So please pay attention to those things. We always recommend that our students have a hurricane kit or a go bag, okay? Something that they can quickly put together, and then you're not spending a whole lot of time trying to get a whole bunch of items. It's all there already. So we're talking about, if it plays, it will not. Canned goods, wet wipes, garbage bags, things that you can quickly get together, electronic devices with chargers. I'll Say that again, electronic devices with chargers. You'd be very surprised how many times we kind of review a Hurricane Kit or Go Bag with students, and they have everything electronic in there, no chargers to charge their stuff. So it's important you remember that type of thing. So last but not least, police.ucf.edu, that is our police department's website. Please feel free to check that website out. We have a ton of different resources. I'm the sergeant over our community partnership unit, so one of the things that we do is a ton of programming for students to include self-defense. We have a program called Mighty Nights, where it's a 2-hour program. We go over mindset, awareness, preparedness. We talk about known versus unknown attackers. We talk about the types of weapons you can carry on campus. And yes, you can have up to 2 ounces of pepper spray, all right, on campus. Up to 2 ounces of pepper spray. We highly advise everybody carry it. Not saying that this campus isn't safe, but this is not the only location you will be, right? So it's important you have that tool for de-escalation, and we talk about how you use it. You know, how many of you have pepper spray? Remember, it expires. And know how it works, too. Is it a spray? Is it a mist? Is it a foam? We highly advise you have a stream, something that will take that chemical agent away from you. Because if it's misting or foaming, both you and your attacker will be screaming in that empty parking lot. So it's important you make sure you have a stream, that you're not also getting contaminated. But folks, welcome to UCF. Go Knights. Oh, no. We need to do that again. You guys are Knights now. Go Knights. Oh, so much better. Have a great day, folks.
All right, next I would like to welcome Dr. Mary Schmidt-Owens from the Student Health Services at UCF.
Okay. Do we need a break or anything? Stand up, stretch? Oh, okay. Okay, I was just asking, it seems I'm right before the break, so just hang tight for a few more minutes. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to UCF. I'm happy to see so many people here today, and if you can hear from the others, it sounds like we have a lot of alumni. So I just want to share a little bit about myself. I transferred here in 1987, if you could believe, back to get my master's from Louisiana. And I was a graduate assistant, like some of you are here today, and I graduated in 1989. And right after that, I was hired on with Disney as their wellness coordinator. I was their director of wellness. I had gotten my master's in exercise physiology. And during my tenure at Disney, I came back to school and I pursued my PhD. And it was a long haul because I was taking 1, maybe 2 classes a semester during night school and having a family and still working full time. But that was the most incredible feeling when I did walk across that stage whenever I did earn my degree back in 2004. And after that, I soon transferred from the corporate world to UCF, the academic world, and I've loved it ever since. I've been here, it's going on 16 years, and I am the Director of Healthcare Compliance and Operations at the Student Health Center here on campus. So just a little background about myself. We have our location, the main campus here, very similar to like the PD. We have a clinic located also at our downtown campus, our College of Medicine, as well as Rosen. But most of our providers and services are right here on main campus. So if a student does need to come, if they're located over on the downtown campus, they can take the shuttle or drive over here and utilize our services as well, because we're open to everyone. And like the PD, yes, we are real doctors as well. Sometimes we get confused or wondering, well, you know, are they really medical doctors? And yes, we have a full staff, clinical staff of medical doctors, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, as well as support staff, clinical staff, x-ray technician, phlebotomist, and just our dentist for our dental clinic, a whole slew of clinical staff as well as support staff. So as part of the tuition that you pay, or possibly through the graduate assistant program that you're enrolled in, there is a health fee, and that health fee is used to go towards your primary care visit at the health center. So what that allows is for you to come into the health center and see one of our primary care doctors, and you don't have an out-of-pocket charge of some sort or a deductible. Like you would go into someone in the community, and many times you have to pay that deductible up front. So you don't have to pay that up front. However, we do have other services that we provide in addition to just primary care, which I'll be going into those. And those, there may be a fee associated with that. And we do have, we do take the in-network insurance in order to cover that, or if you have out-of-network insurance, we can assist for filing of that. So some of those things may be like our prescriptions, our specialty care services, we have psychiatrists, dietitian, those may incur an additional fee. Now, if you don't have insurance or you don't want to use your insurance, you can pay out of pocket, and we do have a reduced student rate that you can pay. So these are the insurance plans that we are in network with. We have the plan that some of you may be familiar with if you are a graduate assistant. What is being offered is the Aetna plan. So we do take those plans there. Anything outside of that would be considered out of network. If you are a graduate assistant or looking to get insurance, if you want to take out your phone and take a quick picture of this, because this is going to go through, like the lady, I think her name was Natalia, or one of the presenters was talking about, if you're a graduate assistant, you will get an email and a notification on your to-do list. And this is where they'll be sending something for you to go ahead and accept if you want to go ahead and take advantage of the medical insurance that they provide. And then also, if you're coming here, if you have a spouse, a significant other that could be on your insurance or any other dependents, you can also add them to the plan as well. So if you want to just go ahead, they have the website on there that you can go ahead and take a picture. We do accept this plan as part of our services at the health center. It is a very good plan, actually, because it not only covers the visits, but in addition, a lot of the labs and x-ray specialty care that we provide as well. So I just want to go through very briefly with some of the things that we do offer. As I mentioned, we do have that primary care service. In addition, we do have, say, if someone comes in and they fall over on their skateboard and they may have broken an ankle or have done something, they can be referred over to our x-ray department. We also have our lab where we do both in-house as well as sending out of the labs to either LabCorp or Quest. We do have our GYN clinic. It is pretty much run by all female staff, and we do either annual visits or any type of procedures and such that students may need. And then we also have our immunization clinic. So if you're coming here and if you still have not met your immunization requirements, or if you decide to travel abroad through any program that we may be offering, we're able to provide those immunizations as well. The specialty care, these do incur some type of additional cost, but as I say, if you have the in-network insurance, then a lot of these services are available, or you do have the option to pay out of pocket. We do have our sports medicine doctor, so he sees not only our athletes here on campus, but also for intramural sports, or even if it's just something, like I mentioned, somebody falling off their skateboard. We also have a behavioral health unit, and within this behavioral health, we have our psychiatrist, we have our SUDS, or substance use disorder, and our dietitian. This is one of the clinics that it is for students only, and it does require a referral. So you would have to see one of our providers first, and then they'll make the referral for you to go ahead and make an appointment in that area. We do have provide allergy injections. However, we do not diagnose for any allergies. So if you are coming here and you already have a treatment plan for your allergies and you need someplace to store your allergy medications, or just would like us to be dispensing those to you, then we have that available. If you want to see if you are susceptible or to any type of allergy, then you would have to go to an allergist in the community, and then you can set up a way for them to send the medications to us and have those dispensed through us as well. We also have physical therapy. We are in partnership with our program here, the doctoral program here on campus, and we have one of the faculty members that gives oversight to that program, and then many of the students that go through, they do a rotation, an internship through the facility that we have at the health center. This one, too, for physical therapy, you don't necessarily need a referral or see one of our providers before. You can go ahead and make an appointment yourself and go in if you're requiring that type of service. And then we have a clinic that is solely targeted for international health. So once again, if we have any students, a lot of times if students want to come to an area, international students, our providers there are very schooled in international health and travel medicine. They have many programs and opportunities to travel abroad, as I mentioned, and you can go ahead and have any required immunizations, or if you're going to be traveling to a certain location, they can go through and discuss any precautions that you may need, any recommendations you may need when traveling to that area. We have a dental clinic too. It's basically either preventive, restorative, or just routine care that you may need. We do have two in-network insurances that we do accept. If you do not see your dental insurance plan or you pay out of pocket for that, we do have a one-year membership plan, and it's priced very low. It's just $300 for you to have your annual cleanings done, in addition to some specialty care services that you may need. It is a limited, but it is something that at least you can have during your time here on campus. And then we have a pharmacy, both for over-the-counter as well as prescription medications. Many times whenever you see a provider, they'll just go ahead and send the prescription right downstairs for you to pick up your medication downstairs. If you're currently on medications, you could go ahead and transfer your medications to be filled in the pharmacy as well. And then we provide an array of over-the-counter convenience store items too. This is a list of our hours, as well as our website and phone number. The main number is at 2701, so if you want to call to make an appointment or get additional information, you can call that number. We have hours, Saturday hours during the fall and spring semester. Right now we're actually still on summer hours until we have move-in in a couple of weeks, and then we'll be moving back into the Saturday hours and the extended hour from 8:30 to 6. Right now, we're just open from 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then you can follow us. We have our social media platforms as well that you can go ahead and follow us on as well. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and visit our website for any additional information that you may have. And good luck during your time here at UCF. Thank you.
All right, how are we doing? We're still awake? All right, there will be a quiz. I'm just kidding. So just to give you an idea of where we are now, we are going to move into our faculty panel next, and then after that, we'll be getting up and leaving the room. Someone will come up here and tell you kind of where the breakout rooms will be and what opportunities to interact with different offices you can get through those breakout rooms. I do want to point out, too, that all of this is being recorded. So after this is over, we'll be able to provide you with all the conversations that have been had today, so you can reference it later for your quiz. I'm just kidding. Additionally, if we could, there are some seats up here in the front for those sitting in the very back. If you'd like to come up and find a seat, please feel free to do so. And then I would like to welcome back to the stage Dr. Jonathan Weissample, the Senior Associate Dean of the College of Graduate Studies.
All right, I'd like to bring up three of our faculty members. We have some outstanding faculty here at UCF, so if you all would come up here and grab a seat. This is a time for us. We have solicited questions prior to this, so we have some questions to ask them that hopefully will help you prepare and adjust during your graduate career at UCF. All right. How about we start off and we'll have you introduce yourselves, give us a little bit about your background, where you're affiliated here at UCF. And let's start with Dr. Wilkerson.
Okay, can you all hear me?
There's
Okay, it should. Good morning. Good. Well, first of all, welcome to the University of Central Florida. My name is Dr. Amanda Wilkerson. I am an assistant professor in the College of Community Innovation and Education in the Department of Higher Education and Educational Leadership. And I'm thrilled to be able to speak on the panel this morning just to really think through this idea of why mentorship matters, particularly as graduate students. About 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to think about this more critically and wrote a book, an edited book, and it's called From Student to Scholar, because there are a number of experiences you're going to go through as a graduate student, as a serious graduate student at a Research One institution. And it may even humble you, but we don't want it to dehumanize you. And in this work, what we do is really talk about the experiences in a way to build people's aspirations, about the work that it'll take to be a great graduate student, about the level of commitment it will take to be an outstanding graduate student, and really about your reward for the work you'll do as a graduate student. And this year, in 2023, another book was released, and really it was for the Academy to talk about frameworks for best mentoring graduate students. I think that my research probably fits into 3 buckets. I look at the pedagogical approaches that faculty members use to support the success of first-year students who are attending minority-serving institutions, in particular historically Black colleges and universities. I also look at how we better support and diversify higher education faculty pipeline. And then I look at something very interesting. I'm one of the only researchers in the state of Florida that looks at the political socialization of students on college campuses to understand how student personnel professionals can support them in an extracurricular manner, and one of 7 that looks at it nationally. So I'm happy to be a part of this conversation today. I shared all of this information as context to let you know that I've been in the seat that you've been in before, and I'm continuing to think about you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilkerson. How about Dr. Beaver?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jonathan Beaver. I'm an associate professor of ethics and digital culture here. I'm a philosopher by training. I'm appointed to our philosophy department and our interdisciplinary text and technology PhD program. I direct an ethics certificate, graduate certificate, that you all might be interested in, theoretical and applied ethics. And then I also direct our university's Center for Ethics. So all my work is ethics related. As a researcher, I focus on intersections of bioethics and environmental ethics, focusing on technologies and environments and relationships. So I do a lot of work in bioethics, I do a lot of work in environmental ethics, like I said, digital ethics. Those spaces are my bread and butter, I guess you could say. My background, I did my PhD at Purdue University, I did a postdoc at Penn State, and I've been here since 2015, I think.
Thank you. Dr. Banerjee.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome all to UCF. My name is Parag Banerjee. I'm an associate professor and also the director of undergraduate programs in the Department of Material Science and Engineering. This is part of the College of Engineering and Computer Science. I've been here for almost 5 years. I have a little bit of a roundabout way of getting to where I am today. I came from India originally with an undergraduate degree in metallurgical engineering, and I spent 2 years, this is turn of the century, getting a master's degree here. I don't know how many of you were born, but I'm going to assume a few of you were. At the turn of the century, there was something called Y2K happening at that time. Everybody remember that? So the job market was really hot. And so when I got out with a master's in material science, people were getting jobs left and right. So I decided to take a course where I was actually a research and development engineer at a company called Micron. I worked there for 6 years, and then I think I had enough. I decided to come back, get my PhD at the University of Maryland in College Park. And from then on out, I did a short stint at Washington University and then moved here in 2018. So I bring a lot of industrial experience to my classes, and most of my research interest is in semiconductor material science. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question we have is what do you see as the key things a graduate student should focus on when starting a new graduate program? How about we start with Dr. Wilkerson?
Okay, I'm never afraid to talk. I think that you have to, especially this is coming from a scholar who has a very interesting background as a marginalized student. I grew up in Miami, Florida, which is not too far down the road, if you will. And I thought my entire life that I would just be a makeup artist and a hairstylist, right? And I still dabble in it a little bit, right? But the reality is that when I got into high school, I met a woman who said, you can go to college. Was not really necessarily off my radar, but I wasn't thinking about it in a way that would position me to depart K-12 and go directly into college. I'm only saying this is because I think that you have to center yourselves as a part of doing well in this environment. You have to be very committed about what your goals and outcomes are. Center that and work towards that for every class that you take, for every assignment that you turn in, for every interaction that you have with faculty members. And I'm going to always refer back to this theme as long as they give me an opportunity to speak this morning, but you have to make it matter. There were times that I wouldn't take full advantage of the environment that I was in, particularly in graduate school, because at some point, you know how to be a really good student. This is why you got admitted to a graduate program. You know how to take a test and get the right grade. You know how to write very well. But how often are you availing yourself to opportunities to really explore learning for the sake of learning? And I think that that is such an important conceptualization to visualize as you are centering yourself in your work. And so just in concluding my comments, I really want you all to make sure that you're putting yourself in the center of this experience, and you're making sure every day that you're making it matter.
Thank you. Dr. Beaver.
Dr. Wilkerson, it's hard to follow you. That was really good. Yeah, that idea of centering seems so important to me. A lot of the work that I've been doing recently, I've got this NSF grant. We've been thinking about the way that graduate students and undergraduate students sort of become enculturated in their disciplines. Like what makes a good philosopher or physicist or engineer? A lot of that has to do with like how well you all can find the ground of your value. Like how does your individual value, the values that you bring to your discipline, your programs, fit the values that are exposed by your disciplines, and how that process of understanding how you fit is the process of enculturation, at least from my perspective. And so I think the piece of advice I might add on is like find where the ground is. There's like there might be like a loose aeronautics metaphor here, and I'm a philosopher by training, so this is gonna go over poorly, right? But you can imagine like part of your goal is figuring out where the bottom ground is for your work. Like what are the minimum requirements you have to do in order to be successful as a graduate student? But then once you know where the ground is, you can orient yourself to the horizon, right? You can sort of say, I want to end up here or head this direction. I've seen a lot of graduate students who don't do that well, and they either ground out, right? So they either hit the floor and get away from their discipline, or they shoot for the moon when they're not quite ready, oriented to the horizon, and they end up exploding into space, or some extended metaphor, maybe from Dr. Weisample's example, falling from space and crashing to the ground, something like that. But that idea of finding the ground, and by ground, as an ethicist, I'm thinking about the value ground, is a really important part of that process for me.
Thank you. Dr. Banerjee, any advice?
All should definitely applaud more, that's true.
Well, I'll just add on to what both my esteemed colleagues had just said. Learning for the sake of learning. I look at it as a push and pull relationship. You push yourselves. The reason you are all here to attend graduate school is because you're pushing yourselves up to the next level, right? The reason I left industry, I was getting a six-figure salary. I came back to PhD to get, I don't know, $25,000 a RA, was because I wanted to push myself to the next level, right? But the other important thing, and this is especially true for STEM fields, is through your relationship with your advisor. He or she is going to be pulling you, right? And so you want to early on, make sure that you're getting along well with them, wherever they are, right? And that relationship is more professional than you will ever find with any other person in your life. I'm in touch with my advisor even to this day. If there's a problem, I call him up, and sure enough, he answers me, right? So make sure that not only are you motivated to get into graduate school, but pick your advisor correctly. It's not the reason you should be picking your advisor, not because they're world famous or something, it's because you're getting along with them. There's a certain amount of connection and understanding that you can build with them, because they're going to be there mentoring you for the next 4 to 5 years, and perhaps throughout the rest of your professional life. So push and pull, both are important.
Thank you. I have a good follow-up for this is, how do your expectations differ for a graduate student than an undergraduate student? All right. Anyone want to jump on that?
Okay, I said I'm never scared, so here we go. I think that as a graduate student, my belief about your ability is very different. Undergraduate students come in and we fill them with a lot of knowledge, right? Universities and colleges or post-secondary institutions are the font of knowledge, the stomping ground where you come and you sort of intellectualize your beliefs. You get a little bit of everything you need, and then you decide your sophomore, maybe freshman year, where you want to go in life, and we're pouring information into you. As a graduate student, you're the filter for that information now. We want you to think critically about it, critique what you're reading, help us understand the context of theories that were written long ago before you ever sat in the classroom, and making it make sense within the context of modernity now, right? I think for graduate students, the other thing that you have to really grasp is that you're owning the information, the experience in a different way. It's not really important for you to show up in class and be able to tell me all of the details of what you just read. That's memory. Now you have to transfer that skill of memorization and dig a lot deeper, because it's about what you can do with the information in an applied way. In fact, what I tell most of my graduate students, particularly who are master level students in higher education, is that you're taking these theories, and nobody's gonna wanna sit in front of you as you're planning programming and, I don't know, student activities, and you're talking about a sense of belonging. They want you to make sense of it in an applied manner, but that you have to have deep knowledge of it. You're able to look at this theory and apply it to a school that is in a rural setting, a school that is in a metropolitan setting with a huge population. The idea is that you now become more of an authority on the information that you are learning. Now, when you get into the doctoral phase, you're creating new information, right? But this is the difference between an undergraduate, for me, and a graduate student. And I would say, I want to go back, because one of the things I love about panelists is that we talk very flowery. So what's the most important thing, you should take away from this experience? I know I said make it matter. This is how you can make it matter. How many associations are you going to join that's directly connected to your field? The most cutting edge trends in terms of research and practice happens in associations that are applied to your area of study. So for me, it's the Association for Studies in Higher Education. For me, it is the Association for Colleges for Teacher Education. You shouldn't limit yourself to only showing up in the classroom and then being mute when it comes to what the rest of the profession is doing. So I just wanted to add that as a caveat. But the difference between master and undergraduate students or graduate and undergraduate students is that you're owning the information in a different and new way. You're exploring it differently.
Thank you.
I can go next, maybe break the order a little bit. So one of the things that I'm always looking for in a fresh graduate student as he or she comes and joins my group is, well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm looking for motivation. You all have come here, you meet the minimum the minimum criteria for getting into the graduate program. High GPA, excellent background, undergraduate education. Motivation is very important for us in grad school, especially for the field I'm in. We are experimentalists. Failure is part of our life, and you have to accept failure as part of growing up, okay? And so if you're motivated enough, you are determined enough, you're persistent enough that you can learn from your failures, that's the one single most important factor that I see in successful graduate students. So always remember, there's no shame in failing. You always learn from failing. And so if you can show that to me early on, I know you have a bright future ahead of you. So that's the single most important thing I'm looking at.
Excellent.
I think the only thing I might add is just to sort of second my colleagues and reorient that as self-management. I mean, I think a lot of what your work as graduate students is, as differentiated from your work as undergraduate students, is that self-directedness, right? Your faculty members, your research managers are all going to set tasks for you, but then we expect that you're going to go and do those things beyond what we set for you. So again, it's that finding that ground, it's orienting yourself up to the horizon a little bit. That self-management, I think, is really important. The other thing I'd say is, and this is going to sound pessimistic, and it will apply to none of you in this room, but in my experience, like, I have to not expect that every graduate student I see is going to be capable of those things we just said, right? A lot of the times, I get a huge mix of graduate students. Some of you are intimately capable of that self-management, that motivation, all those factors that my panelist colleagues discussed. And others, not quite there yet, right? They need a little more support, a little more guidance, a little more orientation to what it is to be a professional, to be a graduate student. So I think as faculty members, I try to set those expectations for myself, to recognize that we're all coming from different places in our places as graduate students, as mentors, as faculty members. So that sort of individuation is really important to me, I think, as well.
Excellent. If a student is struggling with schoolwork or balancing, their work and their education and their home life and everything else that goes into play, what do you recommend that they do?
If it's okay, I'll start this one. I think, to circle back to something Dr. Banerjee said, finding that relationship, building that relationship with your advisor is really important, but I want to differentiate advisors from mentors, because sometimes, like, you all are assigned an advisor and you'll develop one in your research as well, but then there's a much wider structure of mentoring that you'll build, and maybe you have built already. Those might be peers, those might be faculty members, those might be folks outside of UCF. That mentoring relationship is how you sustain that balance. It's how you talk through those tensions that I think Dr. Weisample, you mentioned, between being a student and a spouse and a citizen and a partner and a whatever member of any organization. All of those things are real tensions in your work, and you have to figure out how to orient yourself to the work as a graduate student through those multiple lenses. And the only way to do that is with support. Those relations you're going to build are so fundamentally important. You cannot, I don't think any of us can do the work we do by ourselves. And I'm saying this as a philosopher, and philosophers are notorious for sitting in our offices and closing our doors and believing we can do our work and write our books with nobody else around us, and that is just false, I think.
So I think that everything that you said is significant. I'd like to talk for a moment about the recovery of failure, because for some people, you might experience that. And it might be very unintentional, that you didn't plan to not be successful, but how do you bounce back when you aren't? I had a student who just was very involved with their work. I work in a college where most of the graduate students are working full-time. And so they would come at night, take the class, and every week I would see a little bit of falling off, and then come midterm time, they had a reckoning with themselves. And so they called me and they said, I'm gonna drop the class, right? And I said, well, you don't have to. I think that this conversation should be about exploring what you can do to really salvage what's going on, and maybe think about how you can end this semester, maybe with not the best grade, right? But successfully end the semester by completing this course and doing the best job from this day forward. I think it's really important for you all to consider that the realities of availing yourselves to this opportunity might mean that you're gonna have some days where you're up and other days that you're down. But when you experience those moments where you're not as successful as you imagine you would be, you need to figure out how you can support yourself in recovery from that. And I think you have great partners on this campus. That's one. Through faculty members, through mentors, and I'm so glad you made that delineation between mentors and advisors. And I would add another caveat by saying those who are allies for your success, right? Because that looks very, very different. You have somebody who's going to tell you the rules, that's an advisor. You have somebody that's going to show you the way, that's a mentor. You have somebody that's going to take you along the way, that's an ally. And I would venture to say you got to figure out who those people are for you while you're in the program, but learn how to recover from failures.
And a third leg to all of this is look around you, your own network of friends. Very important. I can tell you that in my own experience, there were many times in grad school that I couldn't have survived if I didn't have the friends I had at that point. So please, while you're here for the whatever amount of time you're here on campus, please spread your network, make friends. Many of us personalities may not have a great group of a large network of friends, even if it's a few, make them. Make these deep connections with them because they're going to sail you through your grad school. So very important.
Dr. Banerjee, can I tell you a story?
Yeah, sure.
When I was a graduate student, a friend of mine started this thing he called T5. It was the Thirsty Thursday Thinkers thing. And so every Thursday after seminar, we'd go to the bar and like we'd do the bar thing and we'd talk shop, and like it was the most dorky thing of my entire week. And it was maybe the most memorable experience of my graduate work, and it had nothing to do with my mentors, advisors, it had everything to do with my allies, my colleagues.
Some of my greatest research ideas have come on a piece of napkin inside a bar. So we've drawn it out and it's like, hey, this experiment looks cool.
Yeah,
So-
you got to find inspiration wherever it shows up, and sometimes it's not always in formal spaces, and your support may not always be in terms of formal support. So informally, I think it's so important that we say that a part of your success is finding colleagues who are going to support you in your success.
And whether you're writing ideas on cloth napkins, paper napkins, or toilet paper, that's a great way to do it.
So the next question is a fun one. What do you see as the most exciting aspect of working with graduate students?
So anytime a student joins my group, they always have this question for me: when do you think I'll be ready? When do you think I'll get my PhD? And I keep telling them that, well, my answer is the following. I say, you will get a PhD the day you can discuss material science and engineering with me. And they think about it for a while and they try to figure it out. I said, okay, here's another way of saying it. The day you prove me wrong, you get your PhD. And so I have been proven wrong many times. That's the reason I have many PhD students out there. And I'm proud of those, because the most exciting part for me is when I sit across the table from a student that I have mentored and they can teach me a thing or two about material science and engineering. That's when I feel that I have done my job. right? So there's no clear-cut answer of what, when do you graduate or when do you think you're ready? Well, if you can sit across your advisor and your mentor, you can talk your subject as a subject matter expertise, you deserve to get a graduate degree.
I think my most exciting thing about working with graduate students are the oh shit moments. Because I'm sure you've all had these, right? But there's all kinds of various types. So sometimes in seminars or in research, my students have the oh shit moment, right? And that's not good, but that's the learning experience. And then sometimes they've got the oh shit moment, right? And that's the moment where like the light bulb goes off and like the connections are made. And all those various types, sorry for swearing, I feel like I should be above that, but whatever. Those moments for me are so empowering, right? And I have them too. And when I have them, it's incredible still. And I remember those as graduate students, and helping my graduate students enculturate those, find them in themselves is such a great experience, whether it's in research or teaching.
I think there are two experiences that get me really excited about graduate students. One is the experience that we're going through today, which is sitting in a room. Like, I feel like you all are alive every time that you're clapped, that you're not just sitting in the audience listening to us, but you're absorbing this and traveling with graduate students for presentations. So I, like you, have a NSF grant, and my graduate assistant, she and I went to several HBCUs here in the state of Florida, and we took that long drive to Tallahassee on lonely, I-10, and I just found out the most fascinating things about her, moments to connect and learn about her, and at the same time, she graduated this spring. And my heart was just so, and it was the first time that I participated in graduation at the university where I was hooding a student. But seeing you all at graduation, seeing that you came in and you had certain goals, aspirations, dreams about what you wanted to do, and seeing you complete it, it gets me really excited about graduate students.
Thanks a lot. I want to add one thing to what was said. So what I enjoy the most working with graduate students are those students who push me. Those are the ones who extend my knowledge base. They make sure that I am on task. So they've kind of moved the responsibility from me asking them to do things, for them to ask me to do things. And we work together in a way to advance knowledge. I've had some graduate students who really have just made such an amazing professional career, and I watch them get their start here at UCF. And so it's extremely rewarding, for us as serving as mentors. Another thing I just want to mention is that, and this is touching on everything else, you need to build a mentoring network, and these are peers, near peers, maybe junior peers. They may be faculty members, they may be friends. And so it's important to build that network of support throughout your career. And one of the skills that I hope you develop as a graduate student is how to become a mentor. You will have opportunities to work with people that you will elevate them, whether it's knowledge or skills or just experience. And so that's an important, I think, component of your graduate career is as you are becoming a professional or you're learning more and more in a particular subject area, but you start becoming the expert in that subject area. And so I think that's very critical. Let me ask another question to our panel. So I asked them what was their most exciting aspect of working with graduate students. How about what was your most memorable experience of being a graduate student? What did you find, when you look back, you say, boy, that really was something, at that particular time in your life?
Dr. Weiss-Sample, do you want us to be optimistic or pessimistic? I'll share one example. When I was, I think, maybe a first or second year graduate student, so I had worked professionally after my undergraduate, I didn't want to go to graduate school, so 3 or 4 years later I decided, like Dr. Banerjee, I'd had enough and I wanted to go back to school. I went back straight to a PhD program and was not quite ready for it. And so about 1.5 years in, the graduate director, who I think was having a hard year herself, but the graduate director of my program sat me down and she had this conversation that I'll never forget. And she said, Jonathan, some people aren't cut out to be philosophers. And I was like, I had the moment where I was like, well, wait a second, like, and that was hard. That was a hard moment, and I was like, you are wrong. Like, I am not that person. I am cut out to do this work, and for some reason that like reoriented myself, and I found that I wasn't any longer reliant on my faculty members' expectations. I was responsive to them, of course. But I discovered that I could direct my own career and become the sort of philosopher that I wanted to become, not the sort that my faculty members wanted to mentor me into, if that makes sense. And for me, finding that balance was a really empowering moment. And I became the sort of scholar that is different than a lot of, as a philosopher, I look like a different kind of philosopher than many of my colleagues in the profession. And I'm very proud of that fact. And that's sort of the thing that drew me to UCF. It's sort of the thing that drew me to this department and this institution. This institution empowers those sorts of interdisciplinary, individualized connections, our ability to become ourselves. And I think for me, that was a really powerful moment. And not so negative.
I don't want to interrupt you. Were you attempting to go? Okay.
A little happier, optimistic memory. So about a year and a half into grad school, we were running these experiments, we were getting this data. I produce this data, go to my advisor. He looks at it and says, you know what, we should send it to Nature Nanotechnology. It's a very prestigious journal for people who are not. I was like, no, this can't go there. I mean, I'm a young graduate student. This can't, this is okay, but this can't go there. And he was insistent for some reason. So obviously, he's my advisor. I gave in. I said, okay, let's send it. And it was actually reviewed well, but there were about 24 different comments that came back. Said you have to take care of 24 different things. But like I'd said before, I was motivated, and once I had seen a chance that this research article could be published in that prestigious journal, I kept working, and it took us 8 months to send a response back. We sent it. We got another response back. So almost over a period of a year, we went back and forth with this journal, and ultimately, it got published. So that was my first article ever in a research journal, and it got published in Nature Nanotechnology. And I'm very happy that it went that way, and it was only because my advisor insisted. I think he saw something in it, whereas I didn't. So that was one of my most gratifying moments from grad school. So.
It's amazing. There's a saying that my grandfather used to repeat to my sisters and I when I was growing up. It's very simple. It says, if a task has once begun, never leave it until it's done. Be the laborer big or small, do it well or not at all. And I'm going to say author unknown because my grandfather never told us who said it, okay? When I got into graduate school, particularly in my doctoral program, it was the first time I heard that I wasn't a great writer. My entire life, I've been told I know how to speak very well and that I know how to write. And I couldn't make sense of the feedback that I had gotten from the faculty member, but I did remember what my grandfather said. So I said to myself, if a task has once begun, and got better, because academic writing is very different from any other writing style that I had done before. And then my grandfather couldn't come up for my dissertation defense. At that time, it was all, everybody would come to your dissertation defense. And, but he did come to my graduation. But at this time, he was older. He had just got a pacemaker in. And I graduated from the University of Central Florida, and there was construction all around the arena. So it's very hard for him to walk from the car even to the spot that was designated for people that could not walk very far. And when I got on stage and they hood you and they whisk you off very quickly, I kept sort of under my breath repeating what he had said, and I looked up and I saw him looking down, and he gave me the thumbs up, and it choked me up really, really bad because my grandfather was, he worked in the post office for years, and he as a side job, he would drive trucks. And when I got off the stage and we finally met each other at the end of the graduation ceremony, he repeated what I just told you earlier. If a task, he said, you never gave up, Amanda. And now they get to call somebody Dr. Wilkerson, and that's my last name. And it made me so proud. I had done it for myself, and I did it for other professional reasons, but when I heard my grandfather say that, it made me realize what I had done for him. So it was one of the most spectacular moments in my graduate school experience.
Excellent. Very good. All right, let me, one final question. How about if you give 2 or 3 adjectives that you would say constitute what would make up a successful graduate student?
I want to encourage you all to be dedicated, but be bold. Go after your work with vigor. So be dedicated and bold. I don't want to keep us long.
Excellent.
I'd say responsive and related. I want to call out the one graduate student in the room who, when Officer Scott was up and said, "What makes for a strong police department?" somebody said guns. And I think that is an incredibly important attitude to continue to convey. That critical responsiveness is so important.
Persistence, time management, friends.
Excellent. All right, I want to just point out something before we close this session. Dr. Wilkerson, when she was here, UCF stood for Under Construction Forever. And I've also heard UCF stood for You Can't Finish. That's wrong. I know you can finish. So let's congratulate our panel for contributing to your education. Thank you. All right. Natalia Bauer is going to come up and describe the breakout sessions and how to get to them.
Thank you so much. That was so enlightening. I always love hearing from our faculty. I think they're really important, and you can see that they really care and they want you to talk with them. So I know a lot of times faculty seem intimidating, especially as undergrads. We're like, oh, they're the people that know everything, but they're just like us, right? They have things that go well and things that don't go well. And they're here to help you. So make those relationships with your faculty. It's more important than ever before. So I'll just kind of leave you with that for that. So we're going to have our breakout sessions upstairs. So there's a second floor and a third floor. If you go through the main atrium area, there are stairs and there's an elevator. And we have multiple sessions available for you. Up first, we have the Writing Center, CAPS and Student Cares. CAPS is Counseling and Psychological Services, and then the UCF Library. So these are resources from across campus that you can take advantage of. They have some information for you about what services they offer and how to take advantage of them. So we'll have the first sessions, and then they will rotate. You can go to different rooms to go to career services, wellness and health promotions, and the Rec and Wellness Center, which we mentioned earlier, and university research support. So if you are going to do a lot of research in your work, they tell you how, what resources are available for that. So we ask you to adjourn for that, but then when you're done with this part, we want you to go ahead and come back here. We will have smoothies for a snack, and then we'll conclude, yeah, smoothies, woo. We'll have those, and then we will conclude with the rest of our session in here. So make sure you go upstairs, second and third floor. Stairs are to the middle atrium and the elevator, and then we'll meet you back here after that. So